Oh, usually it starts running slow, and I didn't have
It's
that.
8:30. I'm going to call to order this session of the DeKalb County Council in session Wednesday, April 10th, 2024. At this time, Amy Prosper, would you lead us in prayer?
Love to, thank you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for a beautiful day out today, the spring weather, the sunshine. We're just so grateful. Lord, we just ask that as we're here today, Lord, that you would give us wisdom, that the decisions that we make would only do good for our citizens. We just pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, everybody should have had a copy of the minutes. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 13, 2024 meeting. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Now I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the minutes from March 13, 2024, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes have been approved. Okay, if we'll take a look now, we do have a couple of additionals and a couple of transfers. The first additionals are from Central Communication, and they are for the 19th and 20th. Dispatchers, and I'll read through this here real quick. So it's from Central Communication. The amount requested on the first one is $54,000. Was it included in the annual budget request? The answer is yes. And it's the reason not included was the auditor reporting that there was a system error. Could you just give us?
Yes, so when we put all of our numbers in budget projection and do an upload, we're able to change columns from requested to what you guys approved. And when we did that, these two accounts, for some reason, did not populate that field. So it wasn't included in the final numbers, even though you guys approved it prior.
Thank you. How will this appropriation be used? It'll be for the 19th dispatcher. Is this a reoccurring expense? Yes. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? And that is yes, and that is Rick Ring. The second identical amount then is from account number 11703, account is communications. Again, this is for $54,000. Was this included in the annual budget request? The answer is yes, but the auditor reported there was a system error. How will this appropriation be used? It'll be for paying for the 20th dispatcher. Is this a recurring expense? Yes. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. And was it discussed with the liaison? And that is yes, and it was Rick Frank. These are for the 19th and 20th dispatchers. They were in the budget. They're both $54,000. Could we have consensus to do both of these in one motion? The council. We have consensus. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick Collins. Any further discussion? Any discussion on these two dispatching positions here? Now I'll call for the question. All those in favor of appropriating communications 11702 and 11703, $54,000 each, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And the last one that we have is the LAIR grant, and that's an acronym that I don't do well on. Can somebody tell me what LAIR stands for, please?
I don't know if I can tell you that or not. Lake and River Enhancement.
Lake and River Enhancement. Thank you. Okay, this is Lake and River Enhancement Grant, Cedar Creek Stabilization. The fund is 9120. The account is 32781. Again, this is from the LAIR grant. The location number is 0032. The total amount requested is $297,218.60. Was this included in the annual budget request? And the answer is no. And the reason it was not included was a project amount not known. Could we have a little explanation on that, please?
So this is Soil and Water. They have been working on getting this grant for the Cedar Creek Stream Bank construction project. And so when we were doing budgets last year, this wasn't in full effect yet, and they hadn't known whether they were going to receive the dollars. So we couldn't have budgeted it because we didn't know anything
But
about
the
it.
dollars have been received.
I do want to clarify, not clarify, but more for transparency. I did put the full amount of the 297, 218, 16. That is not all coming from the county, but other funds and grants come to us and then I have to pay out. So just so everybody knows, the county itself is not funding that full amount. Yeah, so actually, we have layer funds with a grant coming for 100,000. They also got clean water initiative funds for 100,000. The Maumee River Basin Commission is putting in, let's see, is it 87,000? 87,000, some change. Then the county surveyor and the city of Auburn, they each split the difference, and that amount is just under $5,000, 4,918.17. So that amount
5,000 each,
comes
Susan? Huh? 5,000 each or 5,000 they split?
each. So 4,918.17 will be what's paid by the county surveyor, and then city of Auburn will also pay that amount. And when I say county surveyor, that would be from the Cedar Creek drain funds, not like county general money.
Actually taking place.
Yeah, we've paid our first invoice.
This is part of that big under storage. Is this the storage, water storage? This is not part of that. Okay.
This is just stabilization of the creek.
Okay. So is that the part over there by Auburn Gear, part of that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Susan before we go on with this here? Okay, how will this appropriation be used? It'll be used for the Cedar Creek Stream Bank construction project. Specific cost of the item is $297,218.60. How was this cost determined? It was submitted proposals. Is this a recurring expense? The answer is no. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? Yes, and that was Bill Van Wy. Do we have a motion to approve this additional of $297,218.60?
So move.
Do we have a second? We have a motion by Bill Van Wy to approve. We have a second by Amy Prosser. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the $297,218.60 that is being requested, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. We have a couple of transfers. The first one is $12, and that is legal and reference materials, 2 subscriptions. That is from the Department of Development Services. Location is 0013. The fund number is 1001. So it is going from account 1001.22410.000.013, which is the legal maintenance materials, to the account 1001.33910.000. Star newspaper. Discuss with the liaison. Do I have a motion to approve this transfer of $12 subscription increase?
I'll second.
For the question, all those in favor? The transfer of $12, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is. We have one more. The fund name is Safety. Fund number is 1170. The location is 0034. The amount to be transferred is $10,000. It is from the account number 1170.33620.000.0034, which is equipment repair maintenance, being transferred to the account number 1170.4440.000.0034 to equipment, and the amount is $10,000. Why is this transfer needed? It is to place funds in the correct account to cover the expense of new recording equipment. Equipment is now outdated. Additional appropriation. Liaison, the answer is yes, and that was Rick. Do I have a motion to approve the transfer of $10,000? Motion from Rick Ring, second.
I'll second.
Second by Bill Van Wyk. Any further discussion on this $10,000? Rick, anything you'd like to add to this? Okay.
It's basically a me issue.
Pardon?
It's basically a my office requirement.
Any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of transferring the $10,000 in central communication from equipment repair maintenance to equipment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. That takes care of the transfers. We have a list of non-approval transfers you have before you. Those do not take action from the council. And we are moving on. Randy is not here yet from the airport, so we can move on to the Change Academy.
Yes.
Would like to just take a couple of minutes and just address a couple of things with the Change Academy. For those of you that may not be familiar with the Change Academy, it's an alternative school, an alternative to expulsion for kids that have been expelled. Prior to, in a lot of places, when a student is expelled, they go home and they do nothing. But this keeps them in an academic environment there where learning does continue. The big change on this has been that Hamilton has opted out of the Change Academy. It is being now picked up by DeKalb Central, Garrett, and Eastside. DeKalb will pick up 50% of the cost of it. Garrett and Eastside will pay 25%. And since DeKalb is picking up the majority of it, the 50%, they will have 50% of the seats available to them. They'll have 12 seats. Garrett and Eastside will have 6 seats each. The students, it's a full day of different learning options, learning activities there. There is meals that's provided. It's a regular day of school. So it's a great program, and the big change is that Hamilton is opted out. The commissioners have signed this change off on this MOU with Hamilton being not included. It is now up to the council to, we need to take a motion on this to see whether we're going to sign off on it or not, the way it's been presented. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for the change in the MOU for the Change Academy. So do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Have a motion by Bob Kraft. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Rick Collins. Okay.
Dave,
Yes.
Hamilton was not in, then they were in, and now they're out. So
Yes.
initially they were never part of this.
Correct.
The previous superintendent and the new superintendent.
So, and if you
Two-
remember
two
last.
seats. They had 2 seats, they were paying 10 grand for 2 seats in the academy, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
It never actually.
Never
We
actually,
actually paid it.
Well,
Correct,
they
correct.
pay,
What did they
okay,
pay?
they included it in the prior year, they never utilized those seats. So if you remember, we had this last month, however, commissioners hadn't approved it yet because we were waiting on some changes. So the new MOU that will just be signed by the president removes the name of Hamilton in the agreement so that it's clear.
And I called Steve Teeters just to make sure that everything was good. He says, doesn't change anything for them. They got all the seats that they've had before, and they have the same cost, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the MOU signing for the council. Again, any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the MOU signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Let me sign this. And the date is the
10th.
10th. Okay, moving right along, Randy Kraft. We're a little early. Are you ready? For Randy Kraft.
I had a brother named Randy Kraft.
I know you do.
He's gone, but.
And I think Randy Fox probably knew my
I
brother.
think Randy Fox will be ready also. So Randy Fox, are you ready?
Oh, that one is, that mic is broken. We can't use it. So I just need you to sit beside one of the gentlemen. No,
Randy, you're welcome.
Yeah. Turn his mic on. Rick.
Sorry. That one didn't work. That they can use to fuel their engines. There is some, signage and things that have to be finished, but that's done. The NABAIDS relocation is started. We are going to have some closures during this to the point where there will be, they'll be out digging the big bases for the lights and putting in cables and things like that, so that'll be done. We're still told that October 31st, they will publish the approaches using the new NAVAIDs so that every aircraft out there can use the precision approach equipment, which right now we only have one GPS approach published for coming in from the west going east, which is kind of counter to normal aircraft operations because you're landing with a tailwind. Now, we do have 7,000 feet of runway that you can land on, so it's not as critical, but it is something that people like not to do if they can help it. The good news, the Horsemen's Association reached their goal. I got an email a couple days before their pancake and sausage breakfast from Russ that said they notified us that they had achieved their $25,000 donation threshold, so they'll get a matching grant from the state. I'm assuming that sometime soon we'll see some groundbreaking to set up a foundation to put the church on. We are going with our attorney to figure out exactly what documentation we need to turn the church over, to make sure that the move is covered by somebody else and not us. So if the church falls off the truck, we don't want to be responsible for that. But we are very happy that they're going to take the church. There was never was never a consideration just to tear it down because it was, if we could move it, that would be more than acceptable on our part. We just wanted the property, and that's done. And speaking of property, we did purchase the last house on County Road 60 on the south side that was available. We kind of had an agreement with the homeowner, much like we had with the church, that when they decided they were done, they would give the airport first option for that property. We got the normal, followed the FAA process so that it could be reimbursed at some point in the future, where we got the got the appraisal, there it is. I got help. You get the appraisal, fair market value, we paid that, and we took possession. Likelihood is we've got a few minor repairs to make, but we will probably rent that property out and have it generate some income for us over the short term before, because right now, again, we have no design to tear the house down or do anything else with it, but it is ours now, so, or it belongs to the county, I guess.
That's on the south side of 60, but which end of the?
It's very close to old 427. Down the west end,
West, okay.
yes. So everything basically from County Road 31 to County Road 427 on the south side now belongs to the airport, DeKalb County. The name change process is still just a concept and under investigation. I want to make sure, and I said it last time, we will always be the DeKalb County Airport Authority, but we may have a DBA for something that would make it easier to identify us and know that they don't have to go into a larger airport with less services than we're going to be able to provide. So that's pretty much the impetus behind that. It has nothing to do with change for the sake of change. It's change for a reason, if it becomes obvious that that's the way to go. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Some clarity from my mind, you said on 427, so we're talking 427, turn left on 60, there's two houses there. You said the last house, was that last house
The
available?
last house available.
Available,
Yes,
so it's
yes.
the second house in on the right.
I believe that's correct, yes.
Yeah, the first one, the
Yeah,
airport
first
already
one-
owned, on the corner of
Actually,
427 and
that was
60.
where my old scoutmaster used to live when I was like 15 years, 16 years old.
So there's probably hidden secrets in the attic there, right?
So if there's anything buried in the backyard, I really don't know.
Thank you. A
Yes.
second question, real quickly.
Yes.
You guys have an event coming up there on Friday? Am I correct on that? Is that this week or is it next week? Or am I confused on that?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, like an open house and then some fly-in stuff? Okay, I'll go back and reread what I read. Maybe I misread it.
Okay,
I'll check.
I'm gonna plead the
No,
fifth
that's
here,
fair.
because I just
That's fair. I
don't
might have
know.
misread it. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Randy? I'd like to thank you, Honorable Randy Fox, for this presentation. So,
I've been called, my mother used to go through the whole list of all the children before she got to us, so I will also note that we do every month publish the operations, and again, these are automatic, so we really don't have any input into how many operations are reported. The airplanes are pretty much mandated to carry a device called ADS-B that transmits its location to other aircraft, and we have a receiver on the airport. And so every airplane that comes in and out, the ADS-B tracks it and actually produces these numbers for us. Where in the past, about every 3 to 5 years, the FAA would bring out a 5-gallon bucket with a microphone in it, set it out there for like a week and count the number of airplanes, then extrapolate it. These are real numbers.
thanks, Randy, appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda is the annual redevelopment TIF report, and I'm going to turn it over to Susan on this one here.
Each year, there is information that has to go into Gateway, just like I do with our big annual report for the county. And as secretary for redevelopment commission, then I also do that for redevelopment. So we had provided in your packets, and if you have printed ones and you have printed papers, the report that I submitted into Gateway. And what it tells is it tells like who's on the board. You can see on there we have finances. We received total for all 3 TIF areas, and that includes American Heritage Village, SDI, New Millennium. We received a total of $517,498.79 for 2023, and we had spent $20,473.54. Then it details out different places that we spend it in. The majority of it is in consultant fees or legal fees. And then at the end of it, we have our balances for each fund. That fund for all 3 totaling a little over $1.8 million. So when you go further into the reports, it kind of tells you the American Heritage Village TIF, that is one that clear back in 2017 had pledged to put $300,000 to the County Road 56 road project, federal projects, which is just now starting to happen. So throughout the process since 2017, there's been some little expenditures and whatnot, but as of this year, probably about a month or so ago, we finally expended the $300,000 that they had pledged to us, so that is out of there. Then there aren't, as of now, there aren't any projects discussed going forward. That report also has to come out, I believe, by June. So the new requirement is that we have to present it. I had to present it to the council. I had to send it to the commissioners to meet the requirements of IC 36-7-14-13. So that's my presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
Under the final notes where it has the 3 totals that make up that 1.8 that you said, are those in the same order, those 3 as the TIF districts listed above, American Heritage, SDI, and New Millennium? This is 4501, 4502.
Yeah, let me look at that.
Are they in reverse order? They might be.
I can tell you in 1 second. So 4501, okay, so it would go SDI, American Heritage, and New Millennium. 4501, 4502, 4503. And you can verify, you can see those balances on your fund report that you get also, because all of the money runs through the county.
Any other questions for Susan? Don, this will take a motion from the council to accept and acknowledge this report or not? Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the TIF program here?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Bob Kraft. Do we have a second? Second by Amy Dembski. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of accepting the annual redevelopment TIF report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, next up, we have, we're going to be looking at beginning the budget process here, coming up here this summer. And at this time, we'd like to give direction to the department heads of the growth quotient that has been established here as a direction as to what they can be looking at for as far as raises within their department. And right now, and this is a tongue twister, the growth quotient is at 4%. And it is a recommendation that we give them the direction of 4% to look at for their departments. Now, that possibly could change down the road. It could be more, it could be a little less. But right now, the established growth quotient is 4%. Susan, you have anything you want to add?
I would just probably suggest that maybe you guys have the department start with that 4%, and then you can always change it. You can go more, you can go less. Because we don't have the information yet from any kind of work study, whatever we end up doing on that route, we don't have that information, and it will be a little bit before we actually know what the true growth quotient is, even though we're capped at 4%. We won't get any. Yeah.
Under normal circumstances, inflation rate. And big inflation that we had. But our expenses have gone up. 4% is the limit.
And I did look that up. That was House Bill 1499 from last session.
Tried to extend it another 4 year, and that was.
Can we do this on a consensus here with the 4% with council, since we,
Can I ask one more question?
yeah, sure, Bob.
Do we just automatically do that total growth quotient? I mean, the inflation rate's down. It was 3.2% in February and expected to be lower throughout the rest of the year. I'm just asking, do we automatically always do the
No,
full growth quotient?
we have
or
not
do we-
always automatically done that. It's always been up to whatever you guys direct us. We're just asking now because Jody needs to prepare the letter to go out to the departments to get that information back.
Is this both direction for both salaries and expenses, like
Everything.
office expenses?
And-
Inflation might be 3. But we were capped. And inflation was much higher. So if anything,
We did.
but everybody stayed well within their. Highway department. I haven't heard
Last year, we told them 4%, and then because we had a surplus when we went to do budget, we were able to give 6% for the employee raises. We were able to do more, so we can do the same. If we set it lower, we could raise it, but I guess the same is true if we set it higher. We could cut it. It could just be a little more work for us come budget time if we have to cut as opposed to raise.
A lot's going to depend on what should be.
Right.
Hopefully at that point, within.
Anybody else, any questions, comments? Do we have consensus from the council to use the 4% to let the department heads know? Consensus from everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so Susan, if you'll let them know that 4% is that.
Is there anything else that you want us to give them in their letter? Is there anything specific that you're wanting from them? Different than what we already do?
We got a couple minutes here. Let's take a look at, last year, the process was streamlined. We did not have the department heads come in. Just for me personally, and this is not to influence anybody, I kind of missed having the department heads come in. It's nice to see the face-to-face contact. I always thought there with them there. And then if there is any questions or anything, it gives them a chance for them to present to us to ask questions back. And I think it's just a little more transparent. So that's just my feeling on that. And if they don't have anything to say or add, they can leave immediately. But I missed that interaction with the group on that there. And that's just my personal opinion, not to try to influence anybody. And I'd like to hear from other council members if you feel that we need to look at, scheduling appointments again.
It was nice to see. It got troublesome hearing the same thing. But, I know Bill does, I do, meet with our department heads that we're liaison for, but we don't get to see the others on a regular basis. That would give us
I would just ask that maybe we give them direction that they only discuss budget lines that change more than 4%, because, I mean, we had people saying, well, I had $100 in this account last year, I'm asking for 100 again this year. I mean, what, every single line, and with no changes, but they discussed all those lines that they had no changes in. And so only focus on the lines that you made a change in, or that the change was more than the 4% that were.
That's a good point, Bob.
Just to help them move a little quicker through it.
And also, and we have to look at our cum cap side of it too, and make sure they have their 5-year program and make sure they explain what their program is and how we're gonna have address it down 2 or 3 years down the line, maybe not this year, but, and I agree with him. We have talked over it once or twice about, I need to see the faces. And if they have something that and like he said, something that they need to really change, that's what we want to discuss. I do not need to know that we're going from $100 to $104 in this account. I mean, that's not a major, but if we got to go from 2,000 to 10,000, I want to know why.
And we have the budget in front of us, so we can see all those lines that are staying the same or barely increasing. It's just those lines that, and those are the ones we typically ask questions on anyway, but I'm just saying when they're presenting, don't present lines that are staying the same.
Do you have
Good
any
points.
suggestions on departments such as mine on the cumulative capital part of it? Because I don't have vehicles, I don't have big stuff, so I don't know. The last time I requested something was because my ceiling was falling apart, and I think that one of the commissioners told me I needed to get it in there so we could get it fixed, because it's just not something that is always thought about that needs done. So do you have any suggestions on those kind of departments? Because we might not know. The only thing that I would know of would be like our mail machine, anything big like that. But otherwise, we're not going to know until something breaks.
Well, is your computers, are they on QCAP, aren't they?
That's through IT.
That's through IT, okay. So in other words, if you don't have your printer or your postage machine, you don't have anything major.
So there could be quite a few like that.
we're using. That cost more than.
Is it like with an air conditioning or something in your office, is that courthouse, Larry's department, not auditors? So those kinds of things you don't list those.
Does that help you out, Susan? I mean, we can come back and discuss
No, that's
this
fine.
again here, but
I
at
just
least get some
wanted to
ball
put it
rolling.
out there in case other departments are listening as well, thinking,
Well, we like
because
it
I
that
have
you don't have to
had,
spend anything. That's kind of nice.
I have had, when I put the request out, or when Jody puts the request out for that, we get letters from departments of once, but most of them are like, they might want more personnel, or it's not actual capital needs. So it's a hard thing to put together for you guys because it's kind of all over the place.
I think the 5-year plan has been last couple of years because we asked them to. So it would be helpful for me. Able to meet them, why or why not.
Right.
Some kind of update on those things that they have. That 5-year plan also, and just so that we have a good.
Right.
What does that look like for them? Is it?
And we try to catch it when we go through everybody's, but I mean, the departments will put that on their 5-year plan, but then they don't budget it. Like, they don't include that in their numbers that they're wanting to do. So we try very hard to make sure we add that back in, but
And sometimes that's because they're being pretty good stewards and they're saying, well, I have this truck, I think it's going to last me maybe 2 more years,
Right.
but it needs to be on the radar that this truck is going to need replaced sometime when it starts going bad.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep it going as long as they can.
We want to know that. Like,
Right.
we want to know, have you been great stewards? Fantastic, thank you. We appreciate that.
And that's one thing, going eye to eye with them, we can compliment them
Yes.
also on that there for being just, but I think the bottom
what's your
line here is that
success
the council doesn't want any surprises coming down the road, you know, if we can avoid it. There's always going to be emergencies or something that's going to pop up that's going to require more money, but, you know, at least kind of give us a heads up of what possibly could be coming down the road.
We also have a decent estimate of get out there 3 or 4 years and the money cover all the items that you keep
Right.
down the road. So that's why you want to look that 5
Yeah, well, the other thing too is like, and Bill can correct me, we had a 2 years ahead of our schedule to replace the truck in the plan commission, the transmission went out, right? That's right. And so, you know, something like that comes up. And also, the other thing I want to make a point is you had to deal with like the health department. We have a whole new program in there. And that changes some of the vehicle uses and some of the personnel. And I know that's not out of the general, but it also affects us.
But you make a good point though, Bill, because highway capital and health department capital come out of the Hume Cap fund?
No.
Or does it come out of the health fund and the highway fund?
correct, it does not come out of
It
the,
comes out of a whole different pocket, so.
But we still got to look at it.
You still gotta look at it, but that's, you can't look at the Cume Cap and think you're gonna pay for something in the health department or the highway department. It's coming from a different location.
Anybody else, any questions?
I thought Bill's point was good. I mean, you know, transmission goes out, you can't help that. But sometimes I get surprised when we're reading documents and they say it aged out, it's been aged out for years, and that's why we're replacing it. I think it'd be better to have it in front of us. We can say no. We can certainly say no to it, but have some of those capital things in front of us so we kind of know where we're going with those. And I think those are probably a part of their, I would hope a part of their 5-year plan. I just don't think that something sneaks up on them every time. It'd be better to know it up front than to be at the end of the year trying to appropriate funds in a surprise, and to be proactive in our equipment so it doesn't shut down our departments and those types of things. And I think IT does that well.
We don't have it in this point, but, you know, hospital business, we had an actual book that came from the Hospital Association, the auditors, that put a life expectancy on every piece of equipment that we had. Auditors could just pick that book up, plan based on that book, and we have to do it. Jeff Peters would have something that,
And for them to know that if we turn it down this year, it doesn't mean we're not. That's why in the coroner's office, they didn't request a vehicle the following year because it had been turned down the year before, from what I understand, so they didn't request it. They can continue to request it. And when it's there, the money's there, it's there, but.
People coming to the department, you at least have something, an inventory of something to go by. Hey, this is on my radar. I need to make sure that I budget for
The last
it.
thing you want is a new department head coming in and then just totally being blindsided with.
I mean, I think the budget
Right.
process is hard enough if you're a new department head or, elected official. But if you at least have something in front of you to look at, okay, now we need to make sure that we put that in, the line item on the budget if it's
Good points. Good points. Do we have any other discussion? This was a great discussion, council. It really was. I mean, I think, Susan, we've got a lot of direction here on where we go with 4% plus what, we may want to take a look at during the budget hearings. But great points, everybody. It really was. So appreciate the discussion. Okay, we've had consensus. Susan, anything else you need from us? Anything from the council to come before the council from the council members?
Maybe you had a note about meeting time.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you. I know we've talked here at different times here about the Wednesday meetings here, whether it works for everybody's schedule or not. It's been proposed here, and it's up to the council here, that we change the meeting from Wednesday to Mondays, since commissioners meet every other Monday. Possibly, we could move it to the second Monday of the month at 8:30. It's open for discussion. I don't know how that works with everybody's schedule, but I know we've got some conflicts right now on meeting times here. So just tossing it out, second Monday of the month at 8:30 is open.
So the commissioners will not meet every Monday?
They
meet
are
every
here
other-
on the first and third Mondays of the month, right, Mike, Bill?
Well, not necessarily.
It's what?
Every other.
It's
Yeah.
Every other?
Yeah, that's
it's
what I
every
thought.
other Monday, depending
Okay.
on,
Gotcha.
holidays, and it's not a specific week.
So I don't like Mondays. Everything isn't in. Maybe by Wednesday before. Not my preference.
Okay, that's a good point. Rick, you need,
Wednesday is fine with me, but I would, if we do this, I would like to actually move it to 9 o'clock rather than 8:30. I have a 7:30 meeting on Wednesday mornings that I'm not always, that I have to leave early to get here. Now, it's a church meeting, and it's not a big deal. I could leave, but it would just be more convenient for me if we could do 9 o'clock.
would 9 o'clock on Wednesdays be okay with the council?
You probably need all the help you can. We might have to move it to 9 to help Rick out because, he's a church.
What's that?
He is. It's all good, Rick. It's all good.
He's trying to save my soul again, isn't he?
I was gonna say that's about the time Bill gets here anyway, so it's 9 o'clock.
Hey, I am upset today. I was really upset.
Who's the lady I had to stand behind?
Wow.
Yeah, and the problem was today getting in here, the three lawyers wouldn't move back to the back of the line in front of us so we get in in time.
Amy Dembski,
Okay with you, sure.
Amy?
You did make a lawyer comment, I heard that.
Amy,
What did you
would
see
9
Don look
o'clock-
at me?
Would 9 o'clock work with you, or is that become a problem with you?
9 would work for me. I guess I would just like, if we could all really look at our schedules and see what works, because every couple of months switching just makes it really hard.
Yeah.
I'm all for
I mean, I
6
don't care
o'clock at
when
night, so I don't
works.
have to miss work.
Correct,
care
because
what works.
depending what is decided, then I have to
Re-advertise.
re-advertise
reprogram-
everything
program.
because we did it at the beginning of the year at once.
And asking for the 9 o'clock, I mean, it's not a big deal. I have every Wednesday, so if I, one time a month, that's not a big deal.
9 o'clock consensus. Rick?
I like the Wednesday 9. I don't think the Monday thing works for a couple reasons.
That's
Amy,
fine.
what Amy mentioned.
Yeah.
I think we kind of
And
ruled
that
it
conflict
out.
on Monday, and then what Bill mentioned, that it's every other week, so we're gonna find ourselves having to move, either they gotta move or we gotta move, and that's,
Amy, 9 o'clock?
Well, I would
On-
much rather do evenings, so that some of us.
Okay. Okay. Amy,
9 works for me.
Bob, Bill? I'm good. Do we want to start this? How quick can we start this? Next meeting, Susan, or do we need at least
Yeah.
30 days for the change to
No,
take place?
I can change things in 24 hours if I need.
Okay, well, the next council meeting will be at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Second Wednesday of the month. Yes, sir.
We forgot to ask the most important person. Don, would that work for you?
But if it ever goes over 12 o'clock, I'm gonna have to bring snacks.
So we'll keep it moving along. So, okay, anything else to come before the council? Anything from the audience? Bill?
Maybe you could.
Just a couple of things quick. Highway Department progressing, although there's some foot dragging out there. It seems like the transfer switches to come in for the three-phase electrical is scheduled for May 26th. And we can't fire up the three-phase. You can't use the facility until we have that transfer switch. And despite our efforts to figure out a way to get around that, there seems to be no way. So it's May 26th. In the meantime, the contractors seems to have decided, well, we're way past the finish date already. And they seem to think, well, we got to May 26th, we can just drag our feet, go do work somewhere else, come back and finish up. The problem with that is we get more glitches and something gets delayed in the present projects that have to be completed. And in addition to that, all this has to be tested. They have to go through, they have to test the water system, they have to test the electrical system, they have to test communications. And then if there's a problem with it, they got to come back and fix it. So we've got a meeting tomorrow, again, another construction meeting, and we're going to get the cattle prod out and get them moving on this thing because they're just dragging their feet. Ben was out there yesterday, and there was 3 people there. Another problem we had with the pumps at the fuel station, they were positioned wrong. They were both pumps are put on the same side of the island. The one pump actually directions in the wrong direction, so we put in a change to let them know that was not to print. They need to change that. So they come back yesterday, changed the wrong pump. Now both pumps are on the wrong side. So they're going to have to change it back. This is what we deal with. We've dealt with this off and on, and it's part of the process. But I would just want to give thanks and credit to Ben and his diligence in watching and keeping an eye on this thing. And we've had several issues that we've had to correct out there. So that's a little bit on that. We're going to get them. We're going to get at them tomorrow and get this thing moving again.
When
We're close.
When they make those kinds of mistakes, is it fixed on their dime, or do they make charges?
No, that's going to be on them.
Right.
It was not to print. And Ben sent an order in to change it, how it needed to be changed. And somehow that didn't make it to the guys actually doing the change, doing the work. So somebody up top, higher up, is amiss on the orders and the instructions to change those pumps. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the chilling, I want to say chilling number we got on the jail chiller. We went from approximately 250 to 630 to $680,000. We got to maul this around and figure out what to do. There's a possibility, of course, that was going to come out of ARPA funds. We directed ARPA funds to pay for that chiller. Now we're going to have to revisit the ARPA fund situation and how we do this. There is an option. I was to the joint city-county TIF meeting last week, and it was about ARPA funds and where they could be used. And I did ask the gentleman that did the presentation, can ARPA funds, and this would be American Heritage Village, which is connected to County Road 56. We've already committed ARPA funds to County Road 56 with a grant match. I asked him, can ARPA funds, not ARPA funds, can TIF funds be used for grant match? And his answer was yes.
Could the funds be used for what there, Bill?
The grant match on County Road 56.
Okay.
And his answer was yes. So I think maybe we can look at that possibility, instead of using ARPA funds for the grant match on 56, if we would be allowed to use TIF funds for the grant match on 56, then that grant match that we had originally designated for 56 could be added on to the chiller expense. We don't know that's going to come out. There's a big change, it went from 250 to 680. And we really question those numbers, how accurate they are. Todd just thinks it's ludicrous that it jumped that much. He doesn't see that kind of expense in that. He has some knowledge of chillers and so forth. And so we really have to dig in that really deep and find out what the cost is actually going to be. They're going to come back with, we're going to request the plans of the new jail to give to this gentleman so he can figure out if that chiller can be transferred to the new jail. Obviously, it couldn't be used to run the whole jail, but possibly run the administration part of the new jail.
What kind of life do you get on a chiller? What are you figuring?
Life expectancy, and here's the thing about plants. Life expectancy is 20 years. That one's going on 40 years old. So, you just don't know. You just don't know sometimes, and the best plans can get changed because of situations like that.
So if a new chiller is purchased, there's enough shelf life left in it when the jail comes down the road that it'll still be...
Yeah, it'd only be at most 25% utilized.
Okay.
And it would be sized to match the administrative part of, not only to service the jail here, but to match the administrative part of the new jail. They talked about moving it to the cell block, and that would be just about impossible because that cell block is going to be twice as big as this one. And then how do you move that chiller and move the inmates all at the same time? If it's in the summertime, it just would not work. So we're looking at possibility. This is just very preliminary, but something to think about, and then we're going to check in and see what we can come up with.
But the money for the County Road 56 project out of that TIF money at the American Heritage Village is already committed. I think we just heard that we were starting to spend some of that money.
Well, that 300,000 from 2017 was already spent. I think
Okay.
Bill is talking about
New money.
additional money, yeah.
Okay.
Moving forward.
How soon are they going to start 56? Oh, it started out.
Yeah, they're cutting trees and everything there.
Bill, was that chiller, I know you talked about it was cheaper to get one that just would suffice there, then it was more expensive to get one that you can move. Early on, you were talking about that. Or is this more expensive because we're trying to save it to move it, or is it going to cost that much no matter what?
You'd have that expense of moving it, obviously. The chiller
Yeah.
price and the way prices are going, if we buy it now, the inflation price on the new chiller 5 years down the road would
Yeah,
probably be more
Yeah.
than the expense to move it, possibly. And, no crystal ball there, but I don't think we'd be amiss if we didn't look at that possibility really, really seriously. Because it will be little used, really. It'll have at least 75% life left in it. Any
We're to a point
questions?
where it makes absolutely no sense to repair the current chiller.
No, it's so old, the
Yeah.
parts are just not.
Right. It would just be a poor investment on our part to
Probably couldn't get the
Band-Aid that
parts.
thing one more time. I said it would be a bad investment on our part to try to Band-Aid that one more time.
Probably. If we could even do it.
Yeah,
He doubted we could even do it.
right.
Getting the parts. And they wouldn't know until they get tore into it. That's the bad thing about it. You don't know until you tear everything apart. And then you got that transition period. It has to be done in the wintertime. You can't do it in the summertime because you have to have the chiller operating. So that'd be done in the wintertime, and then can you get the parts and what parts are you gonna need? And, you know, that's just you could put a good amount of money into that and still end up going back to a new chiller. So probably not very feasible. Anything else?
Another question. Did you get your pump on that chiller? Wasn't there a pump or a valve?
Yeah,
that's
we got a
bad?
pump. Primary pump is leaking rather bad.
Have you got that fixed, or is still, you're not gonna, can you,
That new cost would include that pump and everything
Okay.
else. A pump and I think probably a backup pump.
thank you.
Yeah,
Anything else, Bill?
that's it.
Thank you. Anything else for Bill? Anything else come before the council? Rick?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.